Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Destiny 2. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and salutations. Today, Destiny 2, the good, the bad, and the mixed bag of cats. Let's get to it. So I think we can all agree that Bungie's made some mistakes along the way on the road from Destiny to Destiny 2 and moving forward. What have they done right? What have they done wrong? And what is sort of right and sort of wrong? So let's get right into it. Seasons that they have in Destiny 2, the DLC. If you do not have the current DLC, you get locked out of different areas, different locations, different. You get locked out of levels, you get locked out of power, you get locked out of certain activities. Daily or weekly activities. So it makes it feel as though there's no reason to play unless you have the current DLC. So with Season 3 coming up, Season 2 coming to a close, if you don't have the Warmind DLC, it doesn't make a lot of sense to even open up Destiny 2 because you're going to be locked out of a lot of the activities that you're used to playing. The Nightfalls, the raids, the different activities that give the best gear. So if you don't have the DLC, there's no reason to do it. So in a way that is both good and bad. I mean, you want to have a reason to get the DLC, but I don't think they want to lock people out and make them feel like if you don't get the DLC, don't bother playing. And I kind of feel like that's the message that they're sending to players. Now, loading into social spaces, there's been issues in the past, and there probably currently still is issues where you would load in and you would have a black screen and you would have to close out the app and come back in. And so that goes into the whole connectivity issues where there's lag or latency issues or the similar types of things where you're not connecting with the server in a good space. So that isn't so good. Now, inventory space, that's another one. You have more than 50 mods. Now, blue mods, you have less than 50 mods, but once you start turning them into purples, and then you look at the ornaments and the different cosmetics, like the arrivals, the hive arrivals, transmute, you have a lot more than 50. So you can't even upgrade your blues to purples because you're going to still keep getting blues. So why do you have 50 spaces for mods when you have more than 50 types of mods? And some of them, you have one for like a helmet mod, you have one for an arm mod, you have one for a warlock bond. So then you have warlock bonds in Titan and then the cloak. So I think they could reduce the number of different mods. Same thing with shaders. There's 50 slots for shaders, but you have 62 shaders. How much sense does that make? So everything has to go to the post office. And the best ones seem to be locked by Eververse. Now, I can't say anything about Destiny 2 without Master Raoul. Master Raoul is a dirty bastard at the best of times, and he continues to be so, and it's random, so it is what it is. I think it's great and bad at the same time. When you had purples that turned into blues, that wasn't good, but I think some people love to hate them, hate to love them, whatever it is. It's okay. Weapon rolls. Now, if you have a Lincoln Green, they all are the same. And I think that was one of the biggest missteps that they had. Having different shaders, really, really great. So you can have it more personalized to what you like. how you want it to look.
By all means, let's get started.
Some of the shaders are more rare than others and more difficult to get. That's the way it goes. I think random rolls on completely random rolls made Destiny one of the games that was worth playing on a daily basis, because you say, I mean, just the envy in people's voices when they heard that you got that God roll auto rifle or pulse rifle or whatever, sniper rifle. And we go to Eververse. Now, Eververse is actually mostly cosmetic. The only thing that I do have an issue with is the ghosts, because Eververse is really the only place that you can get the ghosts. So those engrams, you can earn them, but it does take a while, and we did find out that you were getting throttled on the amount of XP that you got going to different levels. The different live events, it was great having the different live events, like Iron Banner, the different faction wars. Really, really great. Offered things that you couldn't normally get. Now, in general, for weapons and armor, since there are no random rolls on either, it makes it feel a little bit vanilla. You have some cosmetic differences between the different armor pieces, but you only have 3 different types, right? You have the mobility, you have the life, and then you have the ability. So overall, you have not a lot of variation when it comes to armor. Emblems, it's nice. You can kind of personalize it. Emotes, I kind of wish that you could customize all your emotes, not just one emote. The different vehicles, nice. Does it really make a difference? Not so much. The sparrows do have a random roll on them for, either cooldown or how fast they come up, stuff like that. So that is kind of a mixed bag, because there's only 1 or 2 that are really worth having. Clans were a footnote on the bottom of your banner for a long time, and now they make sense. Now it makes sense to actually be in a clan. You can go through, you can do different things with your clan members, and it actually makes sense. Why do you do it? Because you get those rewards for playing with other clanmates. The Vault. I'm glad that they added space for emotes, for emblems, for exotic weapons and armor. Now the overall vault space, you have 200 spaces, and you have a whole bunch of weapons and armor that you just can't fit into it. So maybe you're trying to figure out what new weapons or what exotic weapons you want to keep, which ones are useful, what armor pieces that you want to keep, and then you run out of space and it's all over, and you don't have enough space on your character. You can only hold a maximum of 10 for each slot, and most of that is being taken up by weapons or armor that you want or you need, or you want a variety of different weapons. When you have a primary slot that has 6 or 7 different types of weapons that can slot into it, all of a sudden you only have 2 or 3 spaces or 4 spaces left to pick up weapons as you're playing. So don't like that. If they had kind of a scheme where you had a bag of items and you could make those items for different slots, so all your slots go into a bag unless you're wearing it. That kind of thing. That would be a little bit possibly better, depending on how they made it work. Matchmaking for strikes. for missions, for things that you do good, for the raid, for the Nightfall. At first, they said no matchmaking whatsoever. Very, very bad, because that forced people to go to a third party. They wanted to go and get a group so they can do those activities, and then it was a mixed bag anyway, and that was the reason why they weren't doing it in the first place. They said you should play with your friends, you should play with your clan. Well, what if you don't have enough people in your clan or group of friends that are doing these activities? Then you're out of luck. So does that mean you just shouldn't play those endgame activities, which are the most challenging and potentially the most rewarding? No, I don't think so. So people are going to go to those third parties, so why not have a matchmaking system? So they did put something in there with coupons, which I am completely adverse to. You get a certain number of coupons per season, and then you're out of luck. And the wait times for doing that was extraordinarily long. The couple times that I tried using a coupon to match with people, even just for a Nightfall, I think I waited 5 or 10 minutes and never got a group. Didn't even bother trying to get a random raid going that way with one of their coupon systems. So why they don't have a matchmaking system for those activities, I don't know. Because people are going to be, if they're going to look for matchmaking, they're going to try to matchmake. And if they have to go outside of your system, they will. Public events. Public events are, I think, one of the most enjoyable aspects of Destiny 2. I think that is one of the things that they just nailed. Now, when they went along and changed the rewards, it wasn't as good, because the rewards, after you did 1 or 2 or 3 public events, then all of a sudden you started getting not so great rewards. Now, you always had on heroic, if you finished a heroic, you had a chance of getting an exotic engram, which is great. Now, a little bit more with Nightfalls and raids. I think the challenge is nice. I think the sense of achievement when you finish it is great. However, I think the way that they have been going about it, at least recently, and historically, is not so good. Having a timer, having something where you are getting through it just in the nick of time, for, you know, the average fire team. I'm not talking about any tryhards here where they have a group that are the top tier players. Average players playing a Nightfall on a timer. Most of the time, they're going to finish it with seconds to spare, which is great if they're able to do it. If they're not able to do it, then they end up losing out. And I'm not averse to failing at the Nightfall and then coming back and then beating it. Having something arbitrary like a timer, I don't think is the way to go. I think it locks out certain players. I think it makes it more exclusive. So I don't think it's a good thing. Raids, similarly, I think it is, some areas of the raid are overly complex, where you have to have all members on your team working in sync in order for it to work. So again, if you have a group of top tier players, it's not going to be a problem, because they're going to have no problems getting through that and being consistent with their play experience. you know what to expect, and they're going to do that every single time. Everyone, even good players, are going to have a bad day or a bad run, or just one. They're going to mess up once. Now, if you have a group of players where most of them are good and maybe one or two maybe are average or even below average because you're trying to get your buddy through the raid or what have you, that person that is either new to it or maybe they have issues with all the mechanics and they're having trouble keeping everything straight, they're going down consistently and they're having more problems getting the mechanics down consistently. So that one run that maybe they're able to get everything together by luck, one of the good players has a bad time and they screw up. So unless everything is going your way, it's not going to happen. So I think it's overly complex where you have too many variables, where just having the players on the same page is a major thing, and then you have all the different all the different gears, all the different pieces of the puzzle that need to come together, and if they don't come together at the right speed or at the right time, everything falls apart. I mean, all in all, I believe that Destiny is visually nice. I think the gameplay is overall very good. I think they got lost in some of the details and some of the aspects of what players really want. What they want, what they should be providing, what people want to get out of Destiny. And I think that's the real problem. I think people have a reason to play every day when they have something to look forward to, something to try to do or try to get. And lastly, having bugs in the game is completely acceptable. In this day and age of live games, that you are going to have bugs and glitches in the game. Now, there are, I think, two categories of glitches in the game. One type of glitch, which makes the game a little bit easier for players, where people are able to go through the raid or they're able to go through the nightfall or whatever activity, and they're able to do so a little bit easier. And Bungie has been pretty consistent at fixing those quickly. You're able to get through the raid without having to deal with the bosses, and you can get the rewards without going through what Bungie feels like you should be going through. Then that gets fixed very, very quickly. And I understand the reasoning behind it, because they don't want to dilute their product. They don't want everyone to just be going through and doing that end game activity and being able to get it done quickly and easily, and it kind of makes you feel like you didn't really accomplish anything. Now, on the other side of that, you have the glitches that make the game harder. Things like NPCs and enemies disappearing and teleporting, and all of a sudden you died and you don't know where you actually got hit from or how you got killed. Those types of glitches seem to take Bungie a lot longer. And fixing those glitches, I believe, would encourage players to keep playing, whereas keeping them in makes players more frustrated, because you already have an overly complex system for endgame activity, and you're adding glitches into the mix, which makes it even more frustrating. So when you're having all those balls in the air that you're trying to juggle, so to speak, when you're doing an endgame activity and then you throw a glitch into it, that makes it all the more frustrating when you had everything else going for you and then a glitch makes it so that you cannot finish. Well, anyway, I hope you found this informative and exciting. Please leave comments down below if there's something about the game that you like or don't like. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll see you next time.